Hey Proxy, welcome to Far Side. I'm so glad to have you here. Would love to have you introduce yourself real quick.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. So my name is Alex, and I'm the founder of Proxy Studio. We're bootstrapping a open venture studio on FarCaster.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, this is so amazing that you hopped on, given that you're, of course, anonymous. But like, given that you're anonymous, I'm curious, like, how did you get into this space? Like, would love to hear, like, or whatever you can share about, like, how you got into this space and why you chose to be anonymous.
Yeah, totally. So I got into this space around 2020. I have some experience in it working in startups. I actually came in from uh, a teaching role prior to this, and I was just doing a lot of reading around crypto. I just kind of had like one of those internet rabbit hole moments of I'd always heard about Bitcoin, but I didn't really know what the deal was. And I started reading about it and I got really interested. That led me down uh, this path of really learning a lot about early DeFi stuff, trying a lot of DeFi and getting involved with a number of projects. I won't go too deep into details around there, but I'll just say that like I've been a believer in crypto for a long time, and I think maybe it's just like being a kid who grew up using the internet, like in the '90s and 2000s. So much of my life has been defined by relationships and that I've made online and like working with people online. And so being a non or like having a username that served as kind of a I don't want to say it's like almost like a vessel to inhabit has been something I've done since like I made my first AIM screen name, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I don't even know if in crypto, like I thought about being an on at first. It was just like, this is my screen name. Like this is my username.
Hmm.
And then as I got more involved, it was a nice way to separate my prior professional identity with stuff I do in crypto. And then for FarCaster, I did it for pretty particular reasons. I wanted to see like, can I start in FarCaster with zero public identity, like
Mm.
absolutely none, zero followers and $0. Like I'd heard all this, like FarCaster is like a high signal, low noise. Like builders are respected here. I was really curious. Like, is that true? And so that was the reason there.
Oh wow. Wait, that's so cool. You kind of like just treated it as an experiment and it kind of worked out for you and you just continued with the identity.
100%. And I also like the idea. So you know, of like being sorry, I'm like fumbling this question. I like the idea of being Proxy Studio because to
Yeah.
me, I always saw Proxy as being like a vehicle for building and investing on FarCaster. That was my kind of initial concept.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I thought if I like take up too much space with my singular identity, then it will be really hard to like support other people to become more involved. So that
Yeah.
was another thought.
Okay, wow. Wait, I find this so interesting now that you've like mentioned your reasoning. Like, whatever you're doing with like proxy swap and, open ventures, I think your identity is basically your narrative, like what you're trying to drive in the ecosystem, which I find very cool. You probably, I think, what with what you're doing, you're probably like one of the biggest, drivers of actual builder energy in Farcaster. And like,
It's so crazy to hear you say that. It's so funny. I love
yeah.
it. I love it.
No, I just love it. Like, yeah, I've actually never thought of, having an anonymous identity be the actual narrative of what you want to pursue in an ecosystem. And I think that's brilliant. This is so cool to me. Um, very,
I think
yeah,
like yeah, on FarCaster, there's a lot of really big names, right? Like when
yeah.
I joined in February, and it felt even like quieter then, although it was really starting to pick up pace.
Hmm.
Like there are all these really big names that were I kind of think of them as the FarCaster OG crew, and they're people I love who are just like amazing builders. But I think that for like anyone who joined later on, more kind of like post degen or post frames, um, it was a little harder to like stand up from the pack. Uh,
Yeah,
I've noticed this with a lot of like the FBI guys I've met. I'm sure you noticed this as like a creator trying to build a platform here.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so for me, it was like I really wanted to try to highlight projects and like bring other people up with me as I grew. And that's been something I've loved about having the studio identity as like my account.
That's amazing. So I'm guessing like I always wonder, if having an anon identity affects the way you build. Like, does it make it harder just because like there's no personal reputation behind it? What I feel like,
Yeah,
that wasn't really the case for you on FarCaster.
I think so. I mean, maybe I can just give some background on like how I got started at FarCaster because I do think it does like it makes some things harder, right? Um,
Yeah.
you can't leverage like past work you've done if you're like for me this is like a new anonymous identity. I couldn't say like I've done this and this. You
Hmm.
can't leverage network in that same
Yeah.
way. You really have to like start those things from scratch.
Mm.
My kind of like strategy of that was I decided I need to show up and every day I need to do something that's a very obvious like tangible benefit for the network.
Well,
And so that's how I started the Open Ventures channel, which is just like a Proxy Studio research channel. And I was like, I'll
mhm.
just write about like stuff that I'm interested on podcaster because content is always helpful to someone, right? Like I'm
Oh
sure you
yeah.
know
Yeah.
that. um,
Very cool.
but then I also realized that it was really important to make relationships, and so one space that was really helpful for that was Club 10,
Hmm.
which in Ted's HyperSub has a gated chat. I would say that's like where I first started making connections on a personal basis with people who
Yeah.
some of whom that like now I'm building with.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I think like eventually you need to have connections are the kind of only way to start driving more like forward and upward to a certain
Yeah.
extent. Yeah. But that's awesome. Like given, you said that you recently came back from Dharamshala, right? Like how was that
Yeah.
experience for you? I'm curious to hear like what you think about the whole Indian builder energy FBI and like how you compare it to like the energy here in the US.
Man, okay, I could like talk so much about this. Well, I first just want to say that like FBI has been a big part of my day to day on FarCaster for a while now. I met
Mm-hmm.
Samir in DGen DAO. So for listeners who don't know, DGen DAO is basically a community DAO started by people on FarCaster who weren't one of the official DGen projects, but maybe thought they were in the airdrop, and then were figuring out ways to proliferate the meme and support the project. And I met him and I was like, this guy is shipping. This guy is like an adult in the room. And I really liked his energy. He's also kind of a madman, to be clear.
Yeah.
um, and we connected, and long story short, we ended up building ProxySwap together. So ProxySwap, like all of the dev work for ProxySwap was done by builders from FBI.
Mm,
And
wow.
it was just like me, Samia, Utkarch, a bunch of other guys, besides Malik, who is a dev I found on Bounties, who did the smart contracts. But, it's just like this crew of builders. And we shipped it. We shipped a very, an MVP product, and now we're building on top of it. So
Mhm.
that's the context for me going to India for this hackathon. I know all these guys. My impression of them is like they are just like they get things done. They shit.
Yeah.
Like, and Samir and I DM me and was like, "You got to come to India for the final week of this fellowship we're running." And I'd been working with some of the people in the fellowship, giving them ideas and product feedback. But the idea of going India was really surprising. I ended up going; it was incredible.
Hmm.
How can I even talk about the builder energy? It's like I think one thing that I mean, obviously there's so many factors here, right? There's like culture, there's economics, but I was
Yeah.
just incredibly impressed by the intense dedication and interest from every single dev I talked to
Yeah.
in building on FarCaster. No one was like asking for money to build. No one was like, does someone need? No one was asking for like a million users. I saw people with like huge smiles on their faces from getting 20 users
Oh my
during the
God.
code,
Yeah.
and that vibe is so infectious.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I mean, I could go on and on, but the headline I would say is like I think the West is underestimating the amount of growth that's going to come for FarCaster from communities like FBI or some of the South Korean devs that I've spent time talking to. Basically, like non-Western dev and user communities that are a little bit siloed on FarCaster because of either language or just kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
that
100%.
hegemony or thing.
Yeah. And, like connecting back to like what you just said, when I visited India this past February, I also had a chance to like interact with all the FBI crew in Bangalore. And oh my God, like you said, it's infectious, it's addicting. I'm like, I want to stay in Bangalore and I want to build with you guys. And
Oh, me too.
right? Like being from New York area, New Jersey area, like you're surrounded by like a lot of the FarCaster energy from the West, right? And
Yeah,
this is my first time interacting with the crew from, the East Side, like these small new communities emerging. And
yeah.
I was like, how can I be this bridge? Right? Like when you go and visit, you want to like incorporate this bridge between the two to get like everyone together as like one full gang instead of like siloed. Um,
Yep.
yeah, it's
I
like,
feel like it's not going to be like one bridge. It has to be many bridges,
oh
right?
yeah, yeah, 100% has to be. It has to be many bridges with the rate of growth. Yeah, it needs to be many bridges, and like that's kind of what I'm trying to explore till date, and hopefully like Farside serves as a channel there, to voice what's going on FBI side. And hope.
I love that. I mean, yeah, one thing I would say is like I feel like a lot of the Europeans and Americans I've met on Podcaster are founders or like lead engineers at startup.
Yeah,
And a lot of the devs that I connected with, well, some of the devs I've connected with in Farcaster builders in India are, you know, are part of existing crypto teams or are founders. But really the vibe I got is like these are people thinking very seriously about building products and they just want to iterate on this new kind of in this new sandbox that is crypto social, that is Farcaster. Um, and that energy of let's just build something, see how it works, see how people respond to it, and then formalize it into a company or a product or a brand. I think that relates to like also the unique opportunity on Farcaster right now, which is
yeah,
like I feel like it's very rare that we get this opportunity where you have an existing user base, you have attention, you have people spending money, but you're also allowed to like try things and fail.
yeah.
Um, and that is such a generative vibe.
I
And
know,
so
right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's very positive sum, very like community first approach, which is very, different. I'm like given all of that, like with going back to like proxy swap and like building out proxy swap, um, this is like a full new unlock to the degen ecosystem. Like I was checking out when you guys were building proxy swap, I'm like, wow, this is like taking degen to the next level. I'm curious to hear like what are the plans for like proxy swap for the future? And
yeah,
yeah, any alpha?
yeah. I can drop a little alpha. So when we built, I think we approached Proxy Swap at first just like as traders, right? We were like,
Mhm.
they're such good open source DeFi tools. Why don't they exist on the Gen chain? And so we started with swap V3 and bringing things like concentrated liquidity and just a more stable trading infrastructure to the Gen chain. And the direction that we want to move in is like, okay, so you're a team of FarCaster natives, right? There are a lot of dexes in crypto. There are a lot of very big dexes that have a lot of money, a lot of TVL. But those teams are not invited on FarCaster like we are. They are trying every single new app that uses FarCaster data that incorporates trading in some way related to FarCaster. So where's our edge, right? As a team, as builders. And at least for me, it's very clear that our edge is in connecting that social data to trading. So the kind of next product release, which we're planning on dropping this summer, relatively soon, is the first iteration of a social DEX. And
Whoa.
I think what I see there is so exciting. It's like we are generating a tremendous amount of social data. We're building these robust social graphs. And then we go on to like Uniswap to trade, or we trade in a wallet interface that is full of financial data. And bringing that financial data, that token information into close connection with our social graph is really exciting to me. And just
Oh
like
yeah.
making trading a bit more fun and a
Oh
bit more
yes.
like social at its core.
Oh, 100%. Like the energy, especially like behind DGen, behind Hire, a lot of these base coins and base itself, right? It's very
Yeah,
social. So the social decks is actually super interesting. I'm so excited for this. This is just gonna take, community trading or just like trading to the next level. I honestly like also a great onboarding mechanism to
100%.
like yeah, FarCaster. Okay,
I mean,
wow.
listen,
This
like DeFi isn't complicated. Even just trading a token can be really complicated. When I onboard people and I present them with a screen that has information about like slippage or routing, all of these terms that are like these terms come from finance, so they
yeah.
come from crypto. Whereas really like as I have been in crypto, like a lot of the information I care about when I'm buying a token is who else is buying it, are my
Yes.
friends buying it, when did my friends buy it, like how in profit are my friends, are they going to dump on me? All of
But
these kind of like social questions. Um, yeah, and listen, like on FarCaster, we've seen this proliferation of social distribution. So like giving tokens out to communities in a variety of ways, whether it's through tipping or through a channel airdrop.
yeah.
And our thesis is that that is not going to stop. That there's going to be a lot more of experimentation along those lines, and we just want to really surface some of that social data
Yeah.
directly where we trade.
Yeah, it's just the beginning. This is so exciting. Like, I know, even with the meme coin trend, like that's also started to take a social approach. I think Ravi is building Hype, like where you can send,
Yeah,
meme coins to your friends, like onboard your friends into crypto by like purchasing meme coins. It's just phenomenal, like the community-based approach there. So I'm really excited for, the social decks. Like
yeah,
even with the current like DGen and stuff, like we have our mini group chats on Telegram, like talking about, yo, did you see Hire? Like who's buying in
yeah.
Hire? Like let's all put a bag in. It's just a fun new interaction, honestly. Like it's just taking social interactivity to the next level.
I think like people talk about like being on chain a lot, right? And we use like
Yeah,
on chain to represent a lot of things. When I think about bringing people on chain, it's really about like bringing people into a way of interacting, a way of being social with their friends online.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
so that is going to involve trading. It's going to involve many other things too, but um, right now we have our future grade style from our trading world, and FarCaster is just one of those huge moments where some of those walls break down. and you can trade in the feed now. You can have the feed in a trading app. And those are
Yeah.
really big, like fundamental shifts. And we're just seeing the beginning of how that will play out and how users will engage with these changes.
Oh, 100%. And another thing though, also, like for example, degen, right? Like being
Mhm.
able to trade degen socially with your friends. And at the same time, like while you trade degen, with also its L3 has now other use cases as well, right? So like I get
Yeah,
onboarded through my friends, I get a bag in degen. Now I see I can do all these other things with degen. It's like a funnel, which I think is super cool. But
totally.
like
And I don't. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Wait, no, I was just gonna go ahead and ask you like about, but go ahead. You finish your thought first.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think one thing I'm really excited about is the idea that tipping would move on chain on
Oh,
degen
yeah.
L3. So yeah, like we all know tipping allocations have gone down a lot. We're no
Yeah.
longer tipping thousands of dollars a day. But on the other hand, I think what we'll see is some version of um, basically a liquid tip. So every day you or I would have a certain number of tokens that we can immediately use. They might be like a tipping token that's separate from degen, or it might just actually be degen. I don't know those specifics. That's not my job.
Hmm.
But that opens up a world where a user could onboard the FarCaster with the $5 to register an account. They
Yeah.
could engage with people. They could earn degen, and then they can use that degen immediately, not in some big airdrop event, but just by receiving either tips or an allocation. And
Yes.
then they could trade, right? Or they could create a token and pair it against the degen tip.
Oh, yes.
Those
100%.
are kind of like really fun, very emergent, speculative behaviors that are very interesting to me because that means like the onboarding is happening socially before it
Yeah.
happens with tokens. And that's
Oh,
so
yeah.
promising in my mind.
Oh, I 100% agree. And this is perfect. This actually leads me to like the next question I wanted to ask. Like, what was your opinion, or like, what is your opinion on like L3s and like, degen recently went down, for the
Oh,
last couple
yeah.
of days. Like, yeah, what are your thoughts around all of that?
Yeah. Listen, like, I think there are a lot of people that I turn to for more serious analysis on this subject, right? Like, Android 16 is a FarCaster user, another Anon, who has posted some really thoughtful, very technical critiques of the L3 security kind of trade-offs. I think we all saw a failure of centralization around Conduit and degen layer 3 this last week. That said, I think that fundamentally like, L3s are coming, and the real question is how will users use them? Like a lot of the use cases that people talk about with L3 are around gaming or having like a specific app chain. And for me, it's like this is yet another kind of experimental playground. And my biggest concern as a founder or a contributor to ProxySwap is user safety. So
Hmm.
I was really upset about the downtime, and it's definitely made us as a team like take a step back and consider the situation very carefully. But I'm really happy to see that Yasik has stepped up and is providing refunds to users who lost funds. And
Yeah.
it's a good reminder of how far out on the risk curve we are using a L3 that started from a meme coin on
Yeah.
a decentralized social media platform with less than 100,000 daily active users.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's really important to like remember where we are and also to like hold ourselves to high standards. I hope to see, for instance, with Conduit, like I really would love if ProxySwap could operate our own RPCs. to provide an
Oh,
alternative to theirs. But we don't really get too into the technical aspects
yeah.
of it. But those are more like ideological positions, I think. Like an L3 is fundamentally, in its current form, a more centralized alternative to L2 or to mainnet, especially.
Oh yeah, 100%. That makes total sense. So I'm curious, like, proxy token, right? Is that going to be on an L3? I'm curious. I don't know much about, the proxy token.
Yeah,
Like how does that like operate and like what does the future of that look like?
totally. So Proxy token is the native governance token of ProxySwap, which is
Hmm.
adapt, right? So our goal is to build a protocol that is owned and governed by the community. And so that is how this governance happens is through this token. Um, we also have plans to give Proxy some more like specific on DEX utility in the future.
Oh,
Right
nice.
now, Proxy lives on DGen L3, but
Hmm.
maybe alpha that I don't know if I should drop this, but we are exploring what it would look like for Proxy to live via cross-chain token.
Oh,
So
yeah.
some of our future plans involve just like supporting other chains and expanding our footprint a bit while continuing to really support and push DGen chain. And so
Awesome.
that could involve bridging the token.
Okay, wow. Wow, how FarCaster had announced its new, fundraise, and this is really pumping like the whole future of decentralized social. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on like where you see the space headed, especially with like all these different tokens that we see popping up in the space, like Hire and
Yeah,
DGen. Yeah.
totally. Well, first of all, I just want to say like huge props to Merkel for getting that round done. I Sam Huber just sent me a message alerting me to the fact that apparently Merkel still has like 80% of the funds that they originally raised in their seed round,
Mm,
which I just think is so badass and really cool. And I love that they're getting some recognition on the kind of scope of the FarCaster opportunity. Um,
yeah.
yeah, there's so many amazing tokens on FarCaster. I think really quickly I could talk about like what I think are the big three, which would be Higher, Dgen, and LP.
Hmm.
Um, I'm really excited about Higher lately. Maybe I'll just talk about that because like I'm feeling a
Yeah.
lot of proxy higher synergy. Are you a higher holder, Ishika?
Yeah, I do hold some Hire. I should, maybe cop more. Need to make my bag bigger.
We all should probably cop more higher. Yeah, I've been like friendly with a lot of the like big higher contributors for a while. But I feel like I've been getting a little bit deeper in the weeds of like seeing what people are working on in hire, and it's just a really expansive idea. So like for listeners who don't know, hire is a headless brand that essentially what that means is that the brand itself is open source, so anyone can come in and like use higher and the like higher visual language to
Hmm.
build its CCO. And so you have like a bunch of different people who are now building on this brand. And then, kind of alongside that, there's this higher token, which was started by a community member named Martin, that was born out of the higher channel on Farcaster and distributed initially by airdrop to channel members. Um,
Yeah.
my friend Jihad, who I really like admire as a thinker and a builder in the space, he just launched an amazing HyperSub called Believe in Something.
Wow.
And the focus of Believe in Something is on writer practitioners who have a optimistic view of the future and kind of helping them articulate that and support bringing in those visions to reality. So these are people who are like building something and writing about it, which I feel like
Yes.
you as a content creator can appreciate.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, like I, especially with all these tokens powering, new mechanisms on top of like basically new mechanisms that enable new modes of interaction, I think is
Hmm.
amazing. Especially like two main things are driving this. You have HyperSub that's driving this, and you have like these tokens that, people are now finding more and more use cases for. Hire, for example, like Jihad took a brilliant approach with, using Hire as like a sort of reward mechanism to those that are shipping and
Yeah.
creating in the space, right? Yeah. So the future I see in terms of decentralized social is this area, not just for interaction, but like for builders and creators, and more emphasis on the builders and creators. And that's just going to start growing and growing. And I'm really
Oh,
excited with
totally.
HyperSub. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would just say, like, I think that, DGen, just think about DGen. Like, DGen pioneered this, like, very novel way of distributing tokens. So it basically gave really active community members a high allocation of DGen that they could give away every day. And they didn't actually tell us, like, exactly what we had to do with those tokens. So, like,
Yeah.
for me, like I spent a month of my tipping allocation compensating a developer, and that developer ended up like working on a project that we never launched, and then working
Hmm.
on the contracts that became ProxySwap, which is now a live exchange on DGen layer 3. So these are like very novel funding mechanisms for a really wide variety of things. For, in Jihad's case with Believe in Something, they're funding like ideas and people who are bringing those ideas to life and articulating them, articulating these like visions for the future and working towards them. Degen incentivized like such a range of stuff, and I think that token, um, even though now it's like tipping allocations have gone down, what we're seeing is that it's being used in this app ecosystem.
Hmm.
And that is incentivizing a bunch of other kind of connections and relationships. Like
Oh,
what makes
yes.
me bullish on FarCaster and on decentralized social is the idea that like I can come in, build a reputation here, do it publicly, and then use
Yes.
that like network and social graph to create things, to build things. And that means that I'm linking like my social reputation with my professional life, with my skin in the game, like the tokens I'm trading,
Yeah.
with my like research into crypto. It kind of just becomes this like general, like all purpose, it's like an everything app in some ways, at
Oh,
least for
yes.
me. Like
Everything.
that's how I experience it right now.
It's basically a lifestyle at this point. Like,
Yeah.
it's amazing like the direction it's headed towards. And I think I remember telling you about like this whole idea. You mentioned reputation, right? Like any new people that come on to Farcaster, like how do they get a sense of like what others are doing in the space? And I thought this concept of a reputation token was super interesting, where like this would it could be transferable, but like the main purpose behind it is like a sort of a leaderboard mechanism where you gain reputation tokens with that is proportionate to like what you put out into the ecosystem. And I'm not sure like how that could work, but like the concept of it seems super interesting to me. And I know like the idea behind everyone supporting each other and like attesting to one another's work, where like for example you have X amount of reputation tokens, I would like to allocate some of mine as a testament that I admire your work, and I backing up in the
Yeah.
sense that like, my like reputation backs up yours as well in some degree.
Oh, totally. I think that like we're bringing our lives on chain, and that means a lot of things. And one of the things it means is we're building these on chain and like on feed reputations. So there's going to be a lot of experiments around like categorizing and kind of acknowledging someone's reputation, like the sum of their work and effort, and also the sum of like other people's respect and interest in their work. Um,
Yes.
One thing I would say for like anyone new on Farcaster is like try to figure out like it can be really intimidating coming into a new network, but it's also this blank slate to like build that new reputation to like YB, who was on your
Yeah.
show I think last week, like is a great example of this. YB has
Yeah.
just been like very diligently kind of like putting in the proof of work, right? Like publishing weekly. Now they're doing it like within their HyperSub. When I got started with Proxy Studio, I was a totally unknown on FarCaster. And my entire growth strategy was just every day I'm going to show up and I'm going to like write about something going on FarCaster in a way that like is useful to me and hopefully will be useful to someone else. And you know
Yeah.
that like guiding principle like that hasn't really changed. Like I'm doing a lot of different stuff now. I'm like working on projects. Proxy Studio's bigger, but really like every day I kind of just show up and I'm like, okay, is there some little thing I can do that is maybe of value to like the people around me who are engaging on FarCaster? And I think that it can
Exactly.
accumulate to something really interesting.
Yes, and you need that positive sum mindset in this ecosystem or you won't thrive. Like it's like you
Yeah.
either have this positive sum mindset or like this ecosystem is not for you. And I think the biggest reason Farcaster stands out in the Web3 ecosystem is the energy of people in this, ecosystem is all positive sum. Like even the tokens, like DGen, higher, like these are no one is kind of like I mean, maybe there are a few people, but no one, the majority of people aren't buying these tokens for the sake of like earning money, right? Like it's more of like, I mean, yes, to a degree, but like it's more for, supporting the ecosystem, building new projects on top of finding different use
Yeah.
cases. It's yeah, it's like driving the ecosystem
People
forward.
people are always going to be like profit minded. Like that's just a base fact of crypto or of capitalism. But I will say that like my experience in Farcaster is that it's small still, like right, like we're growing a lot, but there's really like if you were kind of max extracting value every day, I think it would become quite like apparent. It's even apparent when I see an account that is engaging with like every tipping token or everything they can farm. If they're just
Yeah.
kind of like uh max using something to try to get the most value out of it selfishly, it's really easy to tell. It's like super boring. Everyone kind of hates it. Like we all know that these things happen, but I do think the like positive builder energy on Farcaster comes from people who are have some kind of like positive sum mindset. A good example is actually Sam Huber, who I mentioned earlier. Like he's this
Yeah.
amazing young dev guy. I was in India with him in Dharamshala, and one thing I've noticed him doing more lately is making content around
Yes.
um, being a dev and like just teaching people like very basic things that, well, I should say like maybe basic to me, maybe basic to you or Sam, but not necessarily basic to everyone. And that spirit of like how can we figure out how to bring people in, I think is even more important in a world where Farcaster grows a lot, where people
Yeah.
are coming in from outside crypto and they're like, all right, like I have a seed phrase. What is that? And we can be
Yeah.
like, well, here's what it is, and also you don't really need to worry about it too much. You probably shouldn't even touch your Farcaster seed phrase, like et cetera, et cetera. So I
Yeah.
love to see that. I could list examples of that all day long. Like Six has a channel. It was like
Yeah.
his personal channel where he just kind of like hosts his idea guy musings. And eventually it just also became this open space where anyone could post ideas and Six
Ideas.
would
Yeah.
respond. So like for
Yeah.
me when I first joined, I had no followers, no one cared. I would post in Six because like Six would reply to me. I could I could like talk smack about Farcaster, and Six would come in and give me a thoughtful reply, and I would learn something. And
Yeah.
that I love those vibes. I seek those vibes out constantly.
Yeah. And do you think like I see like a lot of the energy is now funneling into IRL, like this whole like, URL to IRL shift and like synergy, where a lot of the essence of the ecosystem also gets captured in a different way when you're meeting with these people in real life.
Yeah.
And do you think like that's just also another way moving forward? I know you're giving your Anon, like I'm curious, like how do you juggle that in terms of like dealing with in real
Yeah.
life meetups and stuff?
I think like my answer to this is slightly more complicated than most people. I do really think that the IRL or the URL to IRL thing, that's very real. One thing I've learned from Ted of Club Ted is just the value of building smaller spaces that um, people feel like really excited and honored to be in, and then
Yes.
feel a base level of trust in communicating with each other in those spaces so they can be honest and critical and real. Um, for me, it's like I have to be a little bit careful about where I choose to make those IRL connections.
Yeah.
Another person who thinks a lot about this is Grin with Cabin, and he's
Oh,
someone I've
yes.
actually I've like doxed to Grin, and I really like Cabin's philosophy, which is basically that you know there are these like big ideas around network states and stuff like that in crypto, and Cabin seems more focused on like what would it mean to start a on-chain IRL network, like where you are today, with the people
Yeah.
around you to support each other and nurture each other. FBI is another example of this, right? Like,
Yes.
uh, India is a huge country. Also, not everyone is even just in India, but it's this like larger network, right? And figuring out ways to both collaborate online and then to have like real personal connection. Um,
It
I
takes it
mean,
to the
me and
next
you were
level.
just chatting like before this
Yeah.
call about this Goa house. I'm so excited about this.
Oh, is
We
this an
probably shouldn't
alpha
talk
drop?
about it too much. This is. I'll just say this. I'll say this. If you don't know what FarCaster Builders of India is yet, and you
Yeah.
know like what Proxy Studio is, or you know what Farside Media is, you need to get hip to it because they like FBI is coming in such a big way. I like Proxy Studio as an entity is collaborating with FBI across like four things right now, and they're
Yes.
all so bullish.
Oh, yes.
So yeah,
Yes, I thank you for that. And the this is like probably another good example of new use cases unlocked. Like just think of I'm pretty sure like this would essentially turn into like the first IRL subscription on HyperSub maybe. Well, who knows?
yes,
Yeah. But
yes. I feel like we should let like Samia present this more officially, but we can say
yeah,
this
we'll
to the
talk about it
people:
later.
hypersub times Goa times like crazy builder energy. And I
Yeah,
think
people
that
aren't
that's really
ready.
all. They're really not. They're really not.
Yeah, this is gonna be a big wave. But yeah, awesome, awesome stuff. Well, this was super fun, and I have like a few rapid fire round questions for you.
Yeah, lay them on
Um,
me.
yeah, okay, so basically four questions. I need you to answer them as rapidly as you can. I mean, ask you to expand on some, but um,
Okay,
feel free to shoot them back at me if you want as well. But let's go
nice.
ahead. All right, Dharamshala or Cali?
I'm saying Dharmashal all the way. I had like the time of my life there. I made, best friends. We're building stuff. The whole like vision for proxy swaps, next big upgrade came there. I love Cali, but like, nah, India all the way.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So, next question. Who are the top three creators and builders you've been having a close eye on in the Farcaster ecosystem?
This is so hard because I've been like talking to 30 plus builders for the last, month. But I'm going to have to say Gayatri from uh, Farcaster Builders of India and the
Yes.
Base Fellowship. I was incredibly impressed by her work on Peak Feed and also on this new client product that she's building around around multi-account management. It's also a great tool for teams. There's scheduled casts, a bunch of stuff, and she built uh, a frame for Kenny and Pixar. It didn't happen, which I have been like wanting to see that project become a frame for
Yeah.
a long time. So kind of just like outshipping all the boys, and I'm very impressed. So I can't wait to see what she does next.
She's a
Um,
powerhouse. Really, I'm so glad to see more women builders in the space, especially from FBI. Yeah.
Me too. Me too. I think we'll see a lot more of that. Number two, I'm gonna have to go with. Oh, this is hard. Maybe I'll do. I was gonna say Jihad, but I talked about him earlier. I'm gonna have to say Kagusha, or
Yeah.
Alexandra, who just launched another like hire friend, also a Proxy Studio subscriber. So I'm biased, but Alexandra just launched the Higher Athletics Society. It's like a higher guild for athletes. So they sponsor athletes in general, just like activating the higher brand around fitness and athletics and that lifestyle. And I just love it's such like a logical move, and I love how Alexandra works with people. Like she's also helped me with Proxy's branding with Flood, and which I'm really excited for. And I just like the way she moves on the feed and in private is incredibly impressive. Um,
Yeah.
last person I'll say, I need to go outside of the studio. Can I do four? Will you give me four
Okay, yeah, sure. Four.
builders?
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Thank God. Okay. I am really impressed by what Johnny is doing with the memes channel and Hypermod right now. So basically, like
Yes.
when Johnny Nonlinear, everyone probably knows him. He founded Fabric and is the CEO of Fabric, and created HyperSub with the Fabric team. And they just recently launched a channel moderation tool, or like membership. It's basically an implementation of HyperSub on FarCaster around decentralized channels, and he
Hmm.
launched one for memes, and I think it really like opened a lot of people's eyes on FarCaster to what you can do with decentralized channels, how you can distribute ownership and governance. So I was really impressed there. Um,
Yeah.
okay,
Always a big fan
and
of Johnny.
I'm so long Johnny. I'm so long Hypersub. Let's see, the last one. I mentioned this when we originally recorded before we lost it. Uh, there's a really like one of my favorite Proxy Studio subscribers is this guy Boss, Reza Boss. He's from the Netherlands. He's an incredibly kind person. And kind of randomly the other day, he launched a meme coin. And Farcaster can be like strangely negative around meme tokens sometimes. But this is like just an incredibly positive, kind person who owns like a very impressive art collection, I'm learning
Hmm.
recently, who launched a meme coin. And I've been watching them just like really good faith effort, try to build this token and serve like a small community of token holders, create little like mini games around it. They don't have like a ton of these tokens themselves. They're not going to like
Yeah.
ever make a ton of money from this. They're kind of just like someone who's in the space who is having fun. And I feel like it's so important for us to remember the importance of having fun. Like if you're, Mr. Mrs. Serious, trying to like 100x your equity all the time, like please like stay far away from me. But if you're like having a little bit of, goofy fun on the timeline while being like generally speaking positive, come tell me all about what you're doing.
Yeah, dude. 100%. Awesome. Okay, but those are
What
four
about
solid.
you?
Yeah, my
Yeah.
top four. Okay, my top four, 100%. One you are on my list.
Let's go.
Um,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes, of course. And I think Gayatri also is like a big one for me. She's just been shipping like crazy nonstop. Like, love her energy. Um, Third, I really there's Pratik. Pratik. He's been doing a lot of
Yes.
yeah, he's been doing a lot of stuff around like base and accelerating the base and optimism space with through NFT drops. And this he's been like so consistent about it. Um, so 100% like he would be another one on the top of my list. Yeah, dude, this is really hard.
It's so hard.
Who
There's so many people.
Yeah, Jihad for sure. Also, I'm really excited because Jihad, I think, is like in his up and coming phase right now. And he's always been like thriving, but like now he's been doing a lot more, especially in terms of content creation, and like
He's
driving the
hitting
space
like
forward.
a flow state, I feel like, where he's had all these
Exactly.
ideas and they're like coming into reality. Yeah, Jihad is someone who I message privately a lot and just say like, we should do this, or what are you thinking on that? And I trust his gut instinct so much. So I'm really
I know,
excited to
right?
see like where his gut takes, believe in something. And yeah, so much faith in him as a builder.
Yes, yes. And there's this one more, like I'm forgetting their name. I feel so bad I'm forgetting their name, but they were essentially like building like this anime, like on
Oh,
chain,
really?
and they had like a fun frame puzzle where you like uncover the scene of the anime where everyone mints it
Oh,
together.
was that maybe People Pleaser?
Yes, People Pleaser. Yeah, People
I
Pleaser. That's
I
what it was.
feel like they're a pretty famous artist. I feel like they did something like that, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Yes. No, no, it is People Pleaser. Shibuya, Shibuya. I really like what she's doing.
Cool.
Yeah. But
Amazing.
um well, yeah, that was one last question for fun. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you want to go?
Oh man. Well, I a part of me just would want to go right back to India. I feel like I have these like new partnerships with people like
Yeah.
Samya and Akil and all these builders that I just met, Ashish, all the guys. And but another part of me also really wants to go to South Korea, which is another country that has like a very active um, FarCaster network. So there's like a lot of Korean FarCaster users, and I
Yeah.
am just starting to like get to know people from Korea building in the space, and it's a similar vibe of like a community outside of the Western Hemisphere that is um, I think has a huge role to play in like the growth and future of this network. And I want to be
Yes.
there. I want to help in any way I can and learn from
Yeah.
people.
100%. This was your first time in India?
Yeah, it was.
Oh my God. Wow. Wow. I'm so glad you
Not
liked it. Very
last.
cool.
Yeah,
Yes, this is
I
just your
loved
first
it.
time. Yeah. Amazing, amazing. Well, this is awesome, Alex. Thank you so much for coming on Farside. I'm sure your
Thank
episode
you
will be a
for
hit. Everyone loves you.
Thank you so much for
Uh,
having me. I really appreciate all the work you're doing for this space.
yes, of course. And I hope to have you soon and see you soon
Yeah.
as well. Hopefully. Let's
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
Anytime.
All right.
Anytime. Bye.